from, my parents were Mexican immigrants from Sinaloa and Zacatecas. I grew up in San Diego, California. I was born there. English is my second language. I think I learned, according to my mom, I learned English in kindergarten in about a month. And then I haven't shut up since. Just grab a PowerPoint. I've got all these PowerPoints. Can just pick one. Let's see if it moves. My parents, I grew up watching how my parents were mistreated just for being immigrants. I was kind of, even though I was a kid, I was kind of treated the same way. Like, there was no distinction made. Back in those days, the 70s in San Diego was a really, it's improved since. It was a really racist town, that shaped my view. It's a town that's in denial that it's on the U.S.-Mexico border. Still kind of is. And it's only, 15-minute drive, or depending how close you live to the border. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just wondering about the...
Yeah. Let's... Spinning wheel. There you go. Hey. I grew up there on the border. If you're a border resident, you go back and forth a lot, and we would go buy our groceries on the Mexican side because they were more delicious and cheaper. And my mom would take me to the matinee on Saturdays to watch like 4 lucha libre movies, and also reading comics that were like Disney comics, but in Spanish. It really just shaped my outlook and my brain. And for some reason in Mexico, Donald Duck, his nephews, and Scrooge McDuck are super popular because those are the comics. Like, I remember, like, all the comics were that. I don't even remember Mickey Mouse really being in a comic unless he's hanging out with Scrooge McDuck or Donald. Reading those in Spanish first kind of like, I don't know what it did, warped my sensibilities. Because then you come back on to San Diego on the American side, and then you wouldn't see any Mexican anything on TV. I wouldn't see myself reflected in that. And then I started to realize that news coverage was weird and biased. And one time, this is the first letter to the editor I ever wrote, there was a lightning strike out in some agricultural fields, and a food truck was hit by lightning, right? And the news report said, it talked about the 7 guys who were injured, they went to the hospital, and then at the end of the report they said, it is not known whether the victims were illegal immigrants or not. And I said, wait a minute, what does that have to do with anything? And so that was I was a teenager. I wrote an angry letter to them, and they wrote me back, and they were like, yeah, you're right, that had no point in adding that or whatever. That had nothing to do with the story. And I thought, I got a little rise out of them. They weren't unhappy with me. But that's when I realized, like, news coverage is important, media bias is important, and I thought, well, why not join the media and become someone that can produce their own viewpoint and get it out there. And eventually I became editorial cartoonist at my college paper at San Diego State University. The paper is called The Daily Aztec, and I was the editorial cartoonist for a couple years, and I used to do cartoons against school spirit and the Greek system, and I was in Mecha, the Chicano student activist group, and so we would sit around our Mecha offices, and my friends would tell me, you should do a cartoon about this or about that, or sometimes I would literally do cartoons about us doing actions on campus. For one time, we tried to bring Cesar Chavez to come speak on campus. And I remember the UFW was asking for $10,000 for him to come speak on campus. Not a small amount back in the 80s. I mean, it was a good size check. But the people that had to approve it was not the school, but the student body, the ASB or whatever, the organizing group there. And so we had to put it, get somebody to propose it or whatever in the meeting. And they had the stupidest reasons why Cesar Chavez should not come to speak on campus, and the members of the ASB apparently were all some of them were children of the growers in the Central Valley, right? When I went to college, the first time I met Chicanos from outside of San Diego. Met many from the Imperial Valley, I met a couple from LA, and a few from the Central Valley. We were all first generation going to college. Our parents were the same, except their parents worked in the fields. My parents worked my dad was a gardener, but my mom cleaned houses. And so anyway, here we are at this meeting. For them, they're going to take a vote about Cesar Chavez coming to speak. And we had a giant cartoon check, right? Like a big, like the sweepstakes, check. And we were there, standing there at the meeting, and all the tables were in a big square. And these people were saying the stupidest things. Like one kid said, "Well, my parents are growers, so we don't like Cesar Chavez, so he shouldn't come speak on our campus." And another one, the place is supposed to be at the free speech area, right? Well, if Cesar Chavez is going to come speak, why? I don't know why I'm doing Southern accents, but it's just natural. Why are we going to have Cesar Chavez come speak? It's at the free speech area. It should be for free, right? It's like, and so they kept saying the stupidest things. So they voted no. And so we took the giant check and we crumbled it up in a big ball. It's like, I'm not kidding, it was a ball. And we threw it in to the center of where all the tables were. And they called the police on us. They shut down the meeting. Everybody had to be evacuated. And I turned that into a cartoon. I did an editorial cartoon based on it. So it was really, would react literally to what we were doing in school. And it was really a great training ground for being editorial cartoonist / activist, because eventually I went to LA, became cartoonist at the LA Weekly for many, many years, and I was involved in LA politics and activism and everything. And it was a great time, and I could literally see my pieces being reproduced and used in marches and things. It was, we didn't have the internet. We had Xerox machines, and we also had people that would just redraw the thing and hold them up as placards. So I'll show you some of those. But eventually in 2000, that was in the 90s. In 1992, I worked at the LA Weekly, and then we were the alt weekly cartoonists. Matt Groening was there from The Simpsons. He was doing this cartoon, Life in Hell. and just a bunch of different all-weekly comics. Was up here in the Bay Guardian, is that the weekly, and SF Weekly. I was in all kinds of papers, but papers are gone bye-bye. But in 2002, I started doing La Cucaracha, which is my daily comic strip, and so that's about, going on 22 years at least, going to be 23 years. I did not get into the arts to do math calculations, so, but around 22, 23 years. And so I have this, let me see, is that working? Yes. I don't know what I made this for, but here it is. Get to enjoy it. So I created this cartoon about my life when I was about 25. It was about that time I'm just talking about right now, when I didn't really have any bills, responsibilities, kids, and so this is the gang. That's Cuco Rocha. He's a anthropomorphic cockroach that is like a Chicano street poet. And that's Eddie Lopez. That's also me. Both of them are me. That he's kind of just wants to chill, have a beer, watch the game. And then that's Vero, his girlfriend, based on my wife. He's a school teacher. And then Neto's the guy in the back of the red hat. He's just a teenage brother. And so I did this strip about just life. Like I said, we're having fun. And we're cracking jokes about ourselves. I've noticed that being a satirist in the Latino community is not an easy job because there are a lot of people that do not like humor for some reason. I think it's weird because I think what happens is, our parents come from, Mexico or Latin American countries, and then after a generation or two, we've lost that sense of humor that we had back in that country, because Mexicans just sit around and make fun of their messed up lives. That's all that they do. So that's why I have the best profession. I get paid to complain about my messed up life. And so sometimes I get called, much less so now, but anybody that does humor eventually gets called a payaso, which is a clown. I don't know what happens to suck the humor out of these people. But I also did sketch comedy when I was at UC Berkeley. I got a master's there in architecture, so I love the Bay Area. It's nice to come back. And my son is there now, and he's about to graduate next month, so I'll be back next month. So. Yes, no more bills. I texted him right now. I'm like, hey, I'm a courtesy call. Like, I'm across the bay, man. He goes, did you feel the quake? And I'm like, no, I didn't feel the quake. But apparently we had a 3.4 quake here today. So enjoy it. Oh. And I must have brought that up from LA for you. My strip is a political comic strip. My heroes are Doonesbury, the Burke Breathitt from that did Bloom County, and I just love, what's the other ones? No, maybe not. But so I imagine my strip as, just a cast of thousands and talking about life in this kind of realized East LA in my strip. But I've noticed I've kind of expanded. I just did a strip about the bandas in Mazatlan on the beach. So I have the characters chilling on the beach in Mazatlan, and there's a cartoon about, maybe I could probably give you some peek on that. Anyway, I'll probably forget in about 5 minutes. This is the original guy. It says, they did the Speedo joke. It says, halt, who goes there, friend or foe? Reporter, put your hands up. What are you Minutemen doing here? We had a thing called the Minutemen in San Diego. They're real nice guys. We're protecting the border from the illegal immigrants who take our jobs. Do you have a job? No, I'm unemployed, and it's the illegals' fault. What job would you have if it weren't for illegal immigration? Swimsuit model. You know, not all the jokes are just about life. This is a joke about a strip about the high price of coffee at the time, and now it's the high price of gas. This is a joke about my. This is my car. I had it up here when I was at Berkeley. My little 1970 Bug. Her name is Lucy, and I don't have her anymore. But she lives on in the comic strip. And the dumb joke is here because push starting a Volkswagen Bug makes it a hybrid, human and gas. And it's a joke about the cucaracha getting jump started again. And they live, you know, they basically spend a lot of time in the car. And I don't know how, I used to drive this car up and down from San Diego to here. I don't know how I am still alive to tell the story. But one of the most everyone's favorite character in the strip, though he should have his own strip, is the taco cart guy. And this one's called Fun with Gentrification. In the first panel, it says tacos, $1 each. And two hipsters walk by and scribble, scribble, scribble. Tacos, $10 each. Now yum. And I use very many different influences, like the Flintstones, imagery. There's old Ronald Reagan there. That's a throwback from my editorial cartoons in the 80s, Ronald Reagan. And there's a lot of these cartoons. I mean, you can go back to my cartoons from college, and we're still arguing, fighting the same things. You know, immigrants are getting scapegoated. They cause every problem in the U.S. Does that sound familiar? You know, that's you know what's going. It's still going on, and there's still violence at the border. And some of these cartoons are about my wife dealing with parents at school. And when I started drawing her classmates or her colleagues in the strip, she was like, could you not draw like everything that I tell you? And I'm like, I got 7 strips to do a week. I'm not going to stop listening to you complain about everything. And yeah, so. Oh, and then the friends started complaining that it didn't look like them. Oh, teacher Lucia. So I have a bunch of kids in the strip, Florida Jose. And that joke's about if, I don't know if this happens anymore, but if you're Mexican and you got a greasy burrito for lunch, your bag would end up being transparent by the end of the day, you know, by lunchtime. See through it. Oh, this next one is one of my favorite strips. First panel said, "This is a hoot." They're on the train. Who cares if there's Indian sports mascots? It's not like there's any Indians around anymore to offend. Excuse me, but I'm an Indian. I'm a living, breathing Native American. Pause. My grandmother was a Cherokee princess. There's so many Cherokee princesses out there. And there's more. So it's sometimes my editors will always say, just be sure if you're going to do a topic, it's a little far field for the strip, and you don't feel like making the characters be in the strip. Just put a character in the strip. Just put them in the background. So right there, I have the cucaracha in the second panel. It's kind of in the back a little bit in the third. They're having that discussion. Another favorite in the strip are Chepe and Pepe, which are 2 super senior citizens, and they're based on 2 elderly homeboys that used to walk around my town in LA, and one was kind of a Bible thumper kind of guy, and had a bottle of whiskey in his pocket, you know, next to the Bible. And the other guy was kind of like a, you know, ladies' man, kind of thought he was super slick. And so I made them best friends, and they lived together at the Pancho Villa retirement home. It's actually Pancho's retirement villas. Get it? So, anyways, everybody loves Chep and Pepe. They're pretty funny. And then Ernesto and Maria are based on my parents. But I made Ernesto like a trumper now. He became a trumper. It's Eddie's dad and Eddie's mom. And the mom is just the foil for the dad because she's just fed up with his stupidity. And sometimes I will talk about the Oscars and showbiz. When I first left Berkeley and moved to LA, I did have a sketch comedy group called the Chicano Secret Service, and we were on TV a little bit, and from that I started writing comedy for TV and film, and eventually got employed doing that. That's the great Fredo Kahlo. And there's Machete. And then here's more of almost an editorial cartoon, Attack of the 50-Foot Latino. It says, okay, I'm sorry, but I'll never make a joke about your height again. My wife is vertically challenged. Here's Piñata movie. Oh, Eddie is piñata phobic, so he is scared of piñatas. He always dreams about them. And scared the crap out of him. Scares the candy out of him. Here's Diego del Ocho and La Chilin Frida. So, there was a family here at my table, and the son and dad the son was trying to explain this poster to the dad, and the dad goes, "Oh, es usted es Diego Rivera." I go, "Sí, yo soy Diego Rivera." Nice to meet you. Yes, that's me. I slimmed down a bit, and it came back to life. That's me. So I use lots of different. Oh, the next one is I have a character called the Titan, who's a Mexican wrestler. This is my favorite strip of his. And it's no words really, except on a sign. They go to the beach, and he goes, "Bye, I'm going to the tacos." And then, of course, I'm a cartoonist, so I have to do dumb cartoonist jokes. So, Run Vero, it's an off-panel ink spill. And let's see, Porky's Carnitas. And, for April Fools, I try to do a funny parody cartoon or something wacky, and this one is Peanuts in Espanol, and so it's fun to watch the letters come in and say like, "Hey, you guys messed up today." It's like, check the calendar, April 1. So they're talking about they're totally talking about undocumented people getting citizenship. And it's good. I just realized this is the longest talk I've ever given just on my comic strip. I'm neglecting my script. But I have this. Oh, then I have Memo. He's Eddie's undocumented cousin, so I use him to talk about all the border stuff. And then I have the Anchor Baby News. They're babies, but they anchor their own newscasts. And then recently I have added the tamales civilization, which lives in my freezer. And so since Alabama declared that embryos are human beings and they banned IVF, I said that, that makes tamales human beings and they can vote. So. And I used to do characters called the Beandocks, which were the Afro-Latino version of the Boondocks. I shared editors with Aaron Magruder, who drew the Boondocks comic strip, if you guys remember that. And then here's Chep and Pepe thinking about stuff, taking their meds. Taco Cart guy, again, he is... popular. I do. A big influence on me was the comic strip Gordo, which is the first comic strip in the U.S., as far as I know, nationally syndicated, drawn by a Chicano or a Latino. I don't know if Andrew Farrago is going to contradict me or not, but that is true, right? Yeah. I know that there was a comic strip in the Midwest that was drawn by a white guy, and and I'm not sure if it was in the 70s or 80s or something, and somebody came to their senses and did not release that. But if you count the comic strip Baldo, which is drawn by my friends out in Texas and in Florida, Hector Cantu, and then mine, I mean, we are like the second and third nationally syndicated comic strips by Latinos in the history of the U.S. And that's like, they only beat me by a month, and I was, well, no, a few months, but I'm bitter about that. But anyway, so I'm gonna party like it's 1990 Mayan. I have this, I'll spoof movie titles, movies, and sometimes I'll get weird hate mail for somebody completely misread this comic, thinking that I was advocating that college counseling should be done in a shed, and that is like not the point of this cartoon. So let me, I'm blasting through all these, and I recently had an assistant. I had an assistant for 5 years that would draw my strip because I was doing so many other things. I recently, but he recently reproduced, so he had to get a real job, and I'm back to drawing my own comics. But these are all pretty good. I'm gonna steal these. NASCAR Cinco de Mayo 500. Oh, the lowrider was going really slow. That's the joke.
Slower.
Flanscaper. Oh, this one's funny. This is Memo. It's in front of Home Depot. He gets picked up for a job. They go to the work site, build this building, gets paid under the table, and then the building is the grand opening for the new anti-immigrant center. And that's how things go. I got hate. No, actually, my lawyer. Is this? Yeah, I got a lot of hate mail for this one because the boys are sacrificing a Barbie doll on this fake Aztec pyramid. But my editors, I think, stopped me from making it a puppy. Not a real puppy, but like a stuffed animal or something. And they were like, no, you cannot do that. Worse than showing a human. Chupacabra, etc. So, and here's one of my favorites, Thanksgiving dinner. Americans only.
Papers, please.
Papers, please. This is the next one. I got in trouble because this is something my wife kind of said. And so, this is what women say. Eddie, I've been the same size since the 6th grade. What men hear, Eddie, I had the biggest butt in the 6th grade. I watched that so bad. But my editors let that go through. It's like, okay. Knock it off. And here's another April 1st one, Doonesbury en Español. I like to mimic stuff. I'm not a bad counterfeiter. I would totally be an art counterfeiter if I wasn't like afraid of going to jail. I got trouble for this. These are the ones I got a lot of hate mail for. This one was, this is about when I heard about nonviolent piñatas. Have you seen those? You don't beat them with a stick. You pull a little string, right? And I thought, this is the worst thing in the world. And so I drew this, and they're like, great, today we're using a non-violent pull string piñata. Just pull one string at a time to see if you make the piñata drop the soy-based candies. And the kids are like,